Hey, what's up? Welcome back to the Lifeonaire Show. I'm Jason Wojo. We got Polish Peter as a co-host. In the Lifeonaire Show, we help people live better lives and create better businesses. Today I want to talk about, I just got back from a trip. We went to Myrtle Beach and then we went to Charleston, South Carolina. It was a great family trip. But I'll tell you, I originally wanted my mom to come with us, and she couldn't because of her health. Like she's had a handful of back surgeries. She can't really get around. Like everything's like uncomfortable or painful for her. And it was an amazing trip with my family, but I really missed that opportunity to connect with her because I know, dude, she's old, I mean, I don't know how long she's going to be here. And it just reminded me of this concept of like living and experiencing and building memories like whenever you can, like, and don't wait, because my mom, hasn't been able to do this stuff for quite some time. And I go down and visit her, but it's not like we can have the same experiences as we could when she was mobile and she could get around and she was, mentally, sharper. And it's kind of just a painful realization that like our time is limited. So like, don't wait, don't put off, living and doing things and trips like until, someday when, we do this.
Yeah, I can relate to what you're saying because I've had a situation with my mother-in-law. I mean, you know very well what's going on over there, right? And now she can't go anywhere, you know what I mean? And, the kids, say like, I wish I could take her there, wish we would have went there, those kind of things, right? So the someday when I think is a very real kind of a thing for people in everyday life. And I will tell you this, every single time you start yourself saying someday when, consider it's a limiting belief. So if that is the case, then maybe that's something that I shouldn't, delay on, And, some cases it's going to be like money conversation because I don't have money to go, let's say, go vacation somewhere or whatever it might be. But we can look from getting that vision item or getting that trip or whatever in a different way. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the Maui trip or like the Maldives.
Right. So
like, yeah, go down to the west coast of Florida or the east coast of Florida and get an Airbnb, dude. Yeah. And it's like, I've been thinking about this a lot because, people will create these bucket lists and, all these things I want to do before I die. Well, guess what? You're probably not going to want to jump out of a plane when you're like 80, or you're not going to hike from rim to rim of the Grand Canyon. Like, because you're going to have a bad back and a knee replacement, or you're not going to have the energy. Like, do it now. Like, especially when it comes to physical things, like do not put those off because we tend to, I think, underestimate the physical deterioration that all of us will go through. I don't care how much you work out. Like, it does not matter. Like, all of us get weaker and less mobile. And, we fight that, and we're going to fight the best we can, but you're not going to be able to do the things when you're 70 as when you're 40, no matter who you are. And so, I think it's just something that we miss out on. Like, so those bucket list items, like, certainly like some of these other ones that aren't, you want to take a balloon ride, that's an air balloon ride, that's fine. But even then, like, you don't know when your days are limited, or when things are going to happen, or when you have to take care of, aging parents, or when, whatever. Like, so we just put it off. And I think it comes from a good place. Like, we want to be responsible. We don't want to spend money, we have to plan and everything else. And I get that. But at the same time, like, I think, Bill Perkins talks about this. I think it's really valuable, is that, building memories when you're younger just carries such a stronger, he calls it like a memory dividend, where, every time you tell that story or you think of that experience, you get a sense of enjoyment from it. And it is valuable, and you live it over and over and over again. So the earlier you have those experiences, the more times you get to tell those stories, the more times you get to have those positive feelings, and it's probably the more people that you can do them with. Like, when you're, and let's say you want to go on a hot air balloon ride, when you're, 70 or 80, like, how many of your friends are still going to be around? Maybe not all of them, not the ones you'd want to go with.
Well, you know what? It reminds me of one of my wife's, one of her clients. She's in her, I won't say 80s, 90s kind of a thing. And she comes in and she wants to, does hair like every week with her, you know what I mean? And one of the reasons for that is because at one point she said, all my friends are gone, I don't have anybody around me anymore, right? You know what I mean? So she does have a lot of connection. They talk, and she wants to talk to her. She wants to hang out with her. She wants to do all kinds of different things because most of the friends are basically gone at this point, kind of thing. So, it's a very real conversation, and I don't think we ever sit down and stop and think about it. I mean, I have to think about it myself sometimes too, because of the fact that um, I'm in my late 40s, and it's you have to kind of
Very
like the
late
something. What's
40s.
that?
Very late 40s.
I'm way ahead of you. Let's just be honest with that, okay? So that makes me feel better anyway. So I mean, I'm not as old as you, so that's a good thing. So I'll never catch up to that. But anyway, so the someday when, be careful when you start talking about that yourself. And if you let's say that trip, get creative. How else can we do this? What else can we do? Who can I talk to, right? That could help me with this. And I think when we start getting creative, I think we can actually make things happen. I will tell you, there's one of my favorite memories with, growing up or my kids or whatever it might be. Barely ever had a lot of money involved in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when we do the Gale Life giveaways, we have a session when we talk about this kind of things. And most of the people, when they talk and they share, barely, I don't know how many percentage wise people talk about there's a lot of money involved.
Dude,
there was very low percentage,
dude, So one of the questions that we ask is like one of the most favorable memories you have.
Favorable?
Dude, almost none of them are money. If any of, I don't even know if I remember ever once someone saying like, yeah, the time I closed that deal and made five figures or whatever. Like, I don't think I remember any of those. We've done these events. We've had 10,000 people go through these things, man. Uh-huh. Maybe a handful, but that I'm not recalling. But like, it always comes back to life. Now, someone right now might be thinking, listen, I get it. We are taught eat your vegetables before your ice cream, and sometimes this can feel irresponsible. You're like, well, my saving, my nest egg isn't there. I haven't fully funded the kids' college accounts yet. My retirement, my 401k isn't been maxed out. But I'll tell you, like, I would put some money aside. Well, number one, look for cheap or free versions of this, because at the end of the day, most times what you're looking for is the experience and the feeling and the relationship and being together and sharing those moments together. But even so, like, some things do cost money. So I'd encourage you to put some money aside. Like, just think of it like you're, back in the day, they had your Christmas accounts, right? When you worked for companies and you put in whatever, $100, $200, $500 a month, whatever it is. So you had money for Christmas at the end of the year. Like, have a fun account and put some percentage of your income into that. And maybe even consider like, and by the way, like, you can have these discussions and look forward to these things in a way that I think really gives you regular opportunities to experience them versus just like someday. I think everyone should be taking, if travel is your thing. If you don't like travel, it's fine, but like, multiple trips a year. You take multiple trips a year. I take multiple trips a year. A lot of Lifeonaires sometimes will disappear for months on end overseas, and like, they'll travel abroad or they'll take an RV across the country for a month. Like, so whatever it is for you, like, I'd encourage you not to be irresponsible, but like to really, I think, seize those fleeting moments that you have for opportunities to experience these things, because they are not forever. And to me, I think you'd much rather regret not having those moments with loved ones and doing the things you want to do versus making an extra, $100,000. Just my thoughts.
So think about it this way. Like, I mean, actually one of my students right now is driving across the country with his wife in an RV, you know what I mean? But they've created their life to be able to do that. So, which is very cool. So Vojo mentioned fun account. Think about it this way. If you just put $10 every single week, at the end of the year, you have $520. And if you have a $5,000 trip, for instance, that you want to hit, it's going to cost you, let's say, $5,000. That's less than $100 a week that you put away, but you have to be diligently putting it away. Think about it. Could you find $100 a week somewhere in your budget to be able to diligently put it away? In fact, don't do it manually. Automate it, right? Like, have it, force it so it takes out, let's say, $100 every single week and puts in a certain account in your bank that's called a fun account. And at the end of the year, you might be surprised how much money you are, having, or, think about it this way. If you're going out, eating out 3 times a week, if you just skipped maybe 1 or 2 of these eating out, now you have $100 to put towards that every single week.
So one tip on that is, if you look at your budget, or rather just look at how you're spending your money. Look at your banking app, and under each line item, if this thing, evaluate whether this thing is getting you closer to your vision or not. And is this a vision spend, or is this like something that is pulling you away from your vision or doesn't contribute to it or is neutral? And then you can realize maybe where you can tighten things up and reallocate those monies towards a trip or something in your vision, something you want to experience. I'll also tell you, man, like a lot of things are, you know, and I know right now things are expensive for people. I get it. I get it. But I still would not dismiss this as something, you know, that's an impossibility. So maybe instead of, you know, you going to, you know, ski out west, you're going to go up New England or something like that. That's just, you know, cheaper and more accessible. Like just don't put it off until someday when, I guess, is the lesson we're trying to share.
You go to New England?
Dude, they have a lot of skiing in New England, yeah. Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont.
Okay. All right. Skiing.
Yep.
I wouldn't even think that would be the place. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, listen, I guess hopefully you guys are hearing what we're trying to tell you guys here is that if you look from the perspective, like, how can I do it like today kind of a thing, right? And start asking that question. You know, maybe it's carving out a little bit of a budget here. Maybe it's, you know, this ice cream that I have every day, whatever. If I put that aside and stop doing that, then I can put towards that trip that I've been wanting to go to. Maybe it's, you know, looking from the perspective, you know what? I have saved up this amount of money and maybe I can just go and on that trip with my kids or whatever it might be and just go with it. So someday when never comes. I mean, that's, I think, the main message that I think we're trying to get you to see here, because someday never comes, because that Sunday when is a moving goalpost.
And I think what you said is a great question, man. Like, how can I do this? How can I go on this trip? Because this is the other thing too. And this is something we teach within Lifeonaire, like, and we go over it all over and over again. You do not have to choose between having a great life and a great business. And so, like, how can I have both of these? And that's really the question you want to answer. Don't assume falsely that you have to choose one or the other.
Yep, exactly.
All right. Hope you guys got something out of this. Again, like, and I would love to hear about your trip. I'd love to hear about your experience, what you got out of this. Come join us in the Facebook group. We'll put a link in the show notes. It's just search Lifeonaire on Facebook. You'll find us. Peter and I are in there. And as always, we would love it if you would leave a review. This is how we reach more overworked entrepreneurs and business owners and make a difference in their lives as well. We'll see you next week, everyone. Take care.